Auburn's most important game this season is their kickoff game against Baylor.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're joined by Ben Taylor of the Auburn Network. He hosts Auburn Opelika this morning. And Ben, I want to share which games we think are the most important right now. I think this can change over the course of the offseason. But right now, I think Auburn's opening game, that Friday night game against Baylor in Waco, is the most important game of the season for the Tigers.
And I'm sure you have a multitude of reasons. The only reason, I mean, there's storylines there with Walker White. If he even plays, I'm not real sure where they stand as far as depth chart wise.
I don't think he'll start.
And so I don't know if we'll see him or not. And I get starting off on the right foot. But I mean, it's out of conference. Does it hurt you within the conference? Are you saying that because you want them to start out on a confident line to begin the year? Or if they went south?
I mean, obviously starting out on a strong note is important. No question about it. But I think when you label a game the most important, I think you have to think, okay, well, then there's major stakes if you lose it as well as if you win it. And I think if Auburn were to lose that Friday night game in Waco, I think all belief for the majority of the fan base would go away when you talk about the fan base's belief in Hugh Freeze. I think there would be a ton of questions of, okay, you said year 3, you said you needed time to get your guys, and you've got an incredibly gifted roster at several different positions, and there's no like glaring holes in it. I think that would be concerning. I think it would also be a situation where like Auburn could bounce back. There's a chance that it doesn't derail your season, but the next few weeks would be brutal. I mean, you would lose support for hosting Ball State and South Alabama. And like you could go to Oklahoma and Texas A&M after that and win those games and be totally fine. But I just think the likelihood of all that happening is pretty low. So to me, like I think going to Baylor is the most important game of the season.
Where I somewhat agree with you is basically what you just brought up is the lack of support Ball State and South Alabama, although I think those are wins. But you could very well lose at Oklahoma, A&M, to Georgia at home, even Missouri, because we know Eli's always going to be prepared to play against somebody. And then who knows what goes on with Arkansas. So you could literally start out, if you don't get that win, Zach, you could start out 2-5. That would not bode well for quote unquote year 3. And regardless if you went on a win streak at the end or not, then you're talking about possibly changes and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So I think the reason I like your pick is because number one, we kind of get to see what we've been wanting to see because we didn't Jackson Arnold. Media people, we got to see 5 minutes of it here, 10 minutes of it there. Just some throwing drills, some stretching. As far as game performance, we didn't get to see him against Auburn last year. You can't even pop in the Oklahoma-Auburn tape from last year and look at Jackson Arnold. So I think that I think it's important to kind of show people what you got because you and I have had pods where we've discussed the quarterback situation. So we'll get to find that out right away. Number 2, I mentioned the storylines. Again, I don't think we see Walker White. If we do, it may be in some mop-up work or if somebody gets hurt. But still, that storyline is there where teammates are going to see the guy sitting across the field that they played with the previous year. But I think it all has to do with momentum and getting the year started out on the right foot, because if you can grab a win there, and then, of course, you grab your 2 home wins, then all of a sudden you're 3-0 going into it's part of the meat of the schedule instead of 1-2 or 2-1 or possibly even 2-2 in those first 4 games.
Right.
So,
and how you develop in the first few weeks of the season, I think it's important. I mean, we've seen Auburn be on the other side of that. I mean, I think back to the terrible year in 2012 where they went down to the wire against Clemson. I mean, I just think if you do a few things differently at the start of that season, you develop as a roster better. And Hugh Freeze talked about it with Feinbaum earlier this week talking about how, the confidence that Jackson Arnold has been important because they've had to rebuild that since, Oklahoma was just a dumpster fire last year with all that was around them, with everybody getting hurt on the O-line and the wide receivers and the scheme not really being in a situation to put players like him in situations to succeed. Like, the confidence concern is a thing. Mm-hmm. And so going out and dropping one to Baylor, I mean, the mental aspect of it, it presents a major hurdle for Jackson. And also, I think the narrative, whether it's true or not, I think it would definitely get out that, okay, like Hugh Freeze has now missed on, like, he's picked the wrong quarterback again. Whether that would be true or not, I mean, context would matter to see how, the Baylor game would unfold. But this is a guy that when he was hired at Auburn, I mean, he was known as this quarterback whisperer, this guy who could develop quarterbacks, this quarterback guru. And his first 2 seasons, he picked Peyton Thorne each time. And now he's picked Jackson Arnold with Deuce Knight as kind of being the future. And like, that makes sense. I think most people are okay with this. But if Jackson doesn't trend up like the way that he's supposed to, like, there's going to be concerns. And is that all on the Baylor game? No. But you can put a lot of stuff to bed if Jackson Arnold goes to Waco and looks crisp and Auburn wins by multiple scores. All of a sudden, I think as a fan base and maybe even as a program and maybe even as a team in the locker room, I think there would be a collective, okay, we are as good and as talented as we think we are. We're turning things around. Huge win. Let's use Ball State and South Alabama as tune-ups and take care of business before Jackson Arnold goes back to his first school to take on Oklahoma. I just think winning it does so much, and I think losing it could be awful.
I will go ahead and jump out on a limb here in a way too early prediction, and I think Jackson Arnold absolutely shines at Baylor.
I think so too.
And the reason being is because I had this conversation earlier in the week, and I said, I think when he gets out there and he goes against the DBs for Baylor, I'm not discounting the DBs for Baylor at all because I don't want them to feel that way. So this isn't trash talk against the defense of Baylor. But I think when he realizes the windows are so much larger than what he sees every day in practice against Auburn's starting secondary, his eyes are going to get wide open. As a matter of fact, they may have to tone him back. He may be overthrowing guys because he's so excited and so amped up and his adrenaline's going because he's going to realize, holy moly, our secondary really is good because these guys they seem to be wide open against these other defenses. So I think he shines.
Yeah, I also think there's a lot that defenses are going to have to do to prep for Auburn because you can't simulate Cam Coleman, Horatio Fields, and Eric Singleton and Malcolm Simmons in practice. And so, if you can get on them early, develop that confidence quickly, even if Baylor does adjust over the course of the game, I think Auburn defensively is going to be in a good spot to hopefully hold everything off. So I agree. I think Jackson Arnold will shine. And I think this game Friday, August 29th in Waco is Auburn's most important game on the schedule. That's as we record this on May 7th. So we'll see what other storylines pop up over the next few months. Ben, you've got some a different opinion, a different game. We discuss that and why next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Ben, can you imagine betting $5 for the first time at FanDuel? It hits, it wins, and you get $200 back in bonus bets.
Wow. No, can't imagine that.
Wow. Obviously, the NBA playoffs, they are in full swing, and this round has been a bit surprising, honestly, from my point of view. And so hopefully you've been in on the action with FanDuel. And we're talking about, we just got done talking about Auburn and Baylor. Auburn, a 1.5-point favorite in Waco. If you feel good about that one, especially after our conversation, maybe that's something you want to look at. We'll see what happens with that line over the course of the summer. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the Locked On Podcast Network. Ben Taylor of Auburn Opelika this morning in the Auburn Network. Which game on Auburn's schedule do you think is the most important?
I'm going to cheat. because this, when our mutual buddy Charlie Five, Kyle Rush, when he and I, he gets mad when I do this because he makes me make a choice, and I'm supposed to choose one, and I'm not choosing one. I'm choosing two, but I'm going to combine the two of them. And the reason being is because I think that the reason.
Can I guess?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you guess.
Is it the back-to-back road trip at Oklahoma at Texas A&M?
Oh, that's a very good one, but that's not even close. No, that would not be it. It is everything that everybody has asked over the last probably 5 years is when are you going to beat Georgia and Alabama? And I think that the combination of those, that Auburn and Hugh Freeze needs to grab a win against one of those two teams. I think that both are gettable this year just because of exits that they've had. And I don't think this necessarily, as far as in regards to playoff contention, means a great deal. I think that for morale purposes, for Hugh to get in the good graces of Auburn fans, it would be nice to grab a win and a normal win, because the last few wins that have happened, like Prayer and Jordan Hare, you've got the kick six. Now, Bo Nix did go out and put a whooping on.
I mean, 2019 was still a wild game. You had 2 pick sixes in it, and then the doink or double doink off the uprights. But yeah, I mean, 2017 you lined up and beat them.
Yep,
you beat both. You whooped Georgia. You beat Bama by 2 scores. But all the other ones,
that's a long time ago, man.
A long time ago.
I mean, any kid that was a junior or senior in high school has made it through college by now, and they still haven't seen a win because of that. So I go with those two, a combination of those two, getting 1 of 2 out of that. 2 of 2, great. I mean, that's even icing on the cake. But I think that he has got to pull a win this year out of one of those programs against Georgia or against Alabama.
And to your point, if things do go south, we were kind of talking about worst case scenario with Baylor a second ago. If you lose, 2 of your first 3 road games, so whichever 2 you want to pick, Baylor, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, if you beat Georgia and Bama, you beat Georgia or Bama, you're going to get forgiveness from a lot of people, people. So, I mean, especially if you take care of business with all the games, which I think they will in between there with Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy, Mercer, and Bama. I mean, if you get one of those, I mean, it almost makes 8-4 like a lock, because that's kind of crazy to think about.
And that's the thing is, you mentioned, possibly losing to Baylor, and then the crowds being down for Ball State and South Alabama, just because there won't be a whole lot of excitement with people about the season. Well, regardless of what you do, Oklahoma and Texas A&M, even if you split those two, you go and you take care of business against Georgia, which will be in front of a packed crowd. That place will be wild against Missouri. Then you got to go on the road to Arkansas, but then it'll be wild with Kentucky coming here as well. And I just don't think you get that if you lose, 2 or 3 to begin the season and lose to Georgia. I don't think that you get that excitement. But you grab a win from Georgia and then have a chance to beat Alabama later in the season. As I said, you got to grab 1 or 2. And that's another thing. With Alabama being at the end of the season, you can kind of limp along, be at that set, let's just say 7-win total. You grab a win against Alabama to make it 8 wins. The fan base is a whole different ballgame going into the offseason and if you're at 8 and you get that for a 9th with a possible playoff position, then they're going to be even more excited.
Yeah, that'd be insane. I mean,
I don't. This is a lot of booging going on here. Like
boog. We can boog as much as you want. I will never not do that. So, yeah. So, what do you think is the most important game on Auburn's schedule? I think you can make the argument for Baylor. I think you can make the argument for Oklahoma or Texas A&M. You can make it for Georgia. You can make it for Alabama. What do you think? Let us know.
Can I make a prediction right now in some of the comments?
Sure.
Somebody's going to go, all of them. He needs to win all. We've got those that are like, Hugh Freeze needs to win all of them.
How original. How bold of you to pick all of them instead of one. How bold. Yeah. Way to put yourself out there.
They're all important, Zach. Don't you know better? They're all important.
Yeah. No, we live in this world where if you say one person is good over the other, it means you think the other person stinks. Or if you think one game's important, the other 11 don't matter. That's the world we live in.
Yeah, listen, they're going to. Listen, we could do that. They're going to rip you for Baylor. They're going to rip me for not picking one or the other, and they're going to.
I can't believe you don't think going to hosted Missouri is important. Like, I didn't say that. Yeah. I didn't say that at all. I think that was super important too. I'm just telling you which one I think is the most important.
We didn't do the pod saying what games are not important. That's not how this started.
Right. That'd be a very short podcast. Yeah. So, Ben, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
AUnetwork.com. Check us out as we do sports teaching every morning after 7. Click on the WANI logo. Love to see you and come and hang out with us.
Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.